my kind and inquisitive Virgo friend. Hello and welcome. My name is Mina, and I'm here to offer you a 3-card reading exploring the themes of you, your path, and your potential. I invite you to consider what the reading reveals about possible challenges, opportunities, and personal growth for the week ahead. Take a deep breath, rest your mind, and let's see what the cards have to share with you today. Virgo, there is a subtle tension beneath the surface this week. It's not loud or dramatic, but it's undeniably there, like the sensation of bracing for something without knowing exactly when or how it will arrive. You may sense fatigue in your bones, not just from physical exertion, but from a pattern of having to keep yourself together, to hold things steady when the world feels unpredictable. There's an unspoken question lingering. How much more can you carry? You may notice little moments where your patience thins, or where you catch yourself preparing for disappointment before it even knocks. It's not that you expect the worst, but your mind seems to scan the horizon for possible trouble, as if a part of you is always on guard. Underneath, there's a quiet longing for relief, a wish that, just for a moment, you could set all the burdens down and trust that nothing would fall apart. This week, the emotional weather is overcast, not stormy, casting everything in a softer, muted light. You're alert but tired, hopeful but cautious. There's an ache for gentleness that you rarely voice, especially when you're so used to being the responsible one. That ache is real, and it colors the way you move through the days ahead. The 9 of Wands appears not as a warning but as a mirror. It captures the reality of your current inner state, one of resilience, yes, but also of exhaustion. You have made it through a stretch of challenges, perhaps more than you've let on to anyone else. The lines between tough and tired are blurred now. You know how to stand your ground, and you do it almost instinctively, but there's a wariness in your posture. Maybe you've noticed yourself double-checking the larks, figuratively or literally, or running over conversations in your mind to make sure you didn't miss something important. Your guard is up, not from paranoia, but from experience. The world has proven that things can change quickly, and you'd rather be prepared than caught off guard. Yet with each new test, there's a sense that you're running on reserves. This is the kind of tired that sleep alone can't fix. It's a tired that comes from holding so much for so long, responsibilities, expectations, even your own high standards. There's pride in what you've managed, and rightly so, but the cost is showing. You might catch yourself hesitating before saying yes to new requests or feeling a pang of bitterness at small inconveniences. You know deep down that you're capable of handling more, but the idea of more is no longer appealing. Instead, you want to know what it feels like to rest without guilt, to let your guard down without worrying about what might slip through the cracks. Under all this, there's a quiet courage. You keep going, even when your spirit aches for respite. There's a recognition now that endurance isn't everything, and that maybe, just maybe, it's time to consider what you truly need rather than what you can simply survive. Out of this constant state of readiness, the week ahead unfolds. The way you brace yourself, the way you anticipate the next demand, it all shapes the path in front of you. It's as if your emotional posture creates the very situations you're working so hard to manage. The world seems to pick up on your vigilance, mirroring back experiences that test your resolve. This isn't about blame, it's about noticing the subtle feedback loop between how you feel and what you encounter. The more you stand guard, the more you feel called to protect what you've built, and so the cycle continues. Your inner state becomes the lens through which everything else is filtered, coloring your interactions and your choices. There is momentum here, a pull to keep doing what you've always done, but there's also an invitation. If you pause even briefly, you might see that the path ahead doesn't have to be shaped solely by old fears. The 5 of Pentacles enters the picture, capturing the sense of struggle that presses in from the outside. This is not just about what's happening within you, but about the pressures and frictions you meet during the week. The feeling of being left out in the cold, of having to make do with less than you need, can arise in small but cutting ways. Maybe you sense that support is hard to reach, or that your efforts go unnoticed. There's a practical stress here, concerns over resources, time, or even emotional energy. The world can feel unsympathetic, and even when others mean well, their help seems just out of reach or not quite what you need. You may find yourself navigating situations where you're asked to give more when you already feel stretched thin. There's a friction between what's asked of you and what you feel capable of providing. The momentum of the week might carry you through familiar territory, putting your head down, pushing through, perhaps even isolating yourself in order to cope. Yet these pressures don't exist in a vacuum. They interact with your inner state, amplifying the tiredness you carry and making each day feel longer than it is. The friction isn't just with the world, it's also within. You wrestle with the idea of asking for help, or of admitting that you're struggling at all. There's a sense of dignity in keeping up appearances, but it can feel lonely. The week's events may test your faith in small but meaningful ways, making you question whether your efforts matter, or whether relief is ever truly coming. Still, in the midst of these pressures, there's a quiet determination. You keep moving, step by step, even when the path feels narrow and the ground beneath your feet is cold. The struggle is real, but so is your capacity to endure. Yet the future is not set and the story is not finished. The potential that waits for you at the edge of all this depends on how you meet the moment, not just how much you can withstand. Conscious engagement, choosing to notice, to question, to open even slightly to new ways of being, shapes what becomes possible. If you move through the week on autopilot, the cycle of weariness and lack might simply repeat. But if you meet your experience with a little curiosity, or even a sliver of self-compassion, the landscape can shift. There's no guarantee that the pressures will lift overnight, but how you relate to them can change. The possibility of transformation hinges on your willingness to acknowledge what hurts, and to let go, even a little, of what no longer serves you. This isn't about heroic action. It's about small, conscious choices that ripple outward. The Ten of Swords speaks to this invitation. It marks the point where something has run its course, where an old way of coping, enduring, guarding, bracing, has reached its limit. There's a sense of finality, but not of defeat. Rather, there's relief in naming what's over. The exhaustion that has built up, the sense of having to do it all alone, the burdens you've carried without complaint, these patterns are ready to be laid down. The card doesn't promise an easy transition, but it does suggest that growth is possible when you allow what is finished to be finished. In this space, clarity emerges. You may notice a subtle shift, a willingness to let a chapter close, to admit that some efforts have drained you for too long. This isn't about walking away or giving up. It's about surrendering the need to hold everything together by sheer force of will. There's an opening here for acceptance, for letting reality be what it is, and for letting yourself be human, with limits and needs. The invitation is gentle, to recognize what you can no longer sustain and to lean into the freedom that comes with releasing it. As you do, the pressure lifts, not because everything outside has changed, but because you have allowed yourself a moment of true honesty. From this honesty, new possibilities can emerge, ones that don't require endless endurance, but instead invite real rest, real connection, and the hope of a gentler way forward. All three cards, the Nine of Wands, the Five of Pentacles, and the Ten of Swords, come together to tell a story of resilience meeting its edge. You begin the week vigilant and weary, carrying the weight of responsibilities that have defined you for longer than you realize. The world reflects this state back to you, offering up challenges that seem to demand even more from your already depleted reserves. The pressures are tangible and at times lonely. Yet, at the threshold where effort meets exhaustion, something shifts. There's a moment, a breath, where you are invited to let go, to acknowledge what cannot be fixed by simply trying harder. In that moment you find not failure but relief. You realize that you are allowed to end a chapter, to lay down burdens that have shaped your days but no longer belong to you. The week's story is not one of defeat but of gentle permission. Permission to rest, to feel, and to begin again from a place of honesty rather than habit. There is reassurance here. You are not alone in your struggle, and you are not required to keep carrying what has grown too heavy. When you honor your limits, you make space for renewal. The path ahead is not about proving your strength, but about letting your humanity lead the way. In this there is a quiet, steady hope. You are enough even when you are tired. You are worthy even when you rest. The story ends not with triumph but with a soft exhale, an opening to a gentler, truer way of being. Actionable insights for Virgo this week. Let yourself pause and notice where your energy feels thin, without judgment. Try asking someone for a small favor, even if it feels vulnerable. Spend a few minutes simply resting, without needing to make it productive. Spoken word affirmations to repeat aloud for a more positive mindset. I notice my tiredness and honor it. I am allowed to rest when I need it. Each breath I take makes space for relief. I trust that letting go is its own kind of strength. And now, dear friend, I thank you for giving me your time. I truly hope I have given you something helpful in return. Goodbye and good luck until next time.